2022 audit and group affidavit.
Discussion, please.
Yeah,
Okay, I've asked for discussion because this is one of those times where if you want to break out your iPods or whatever people have nowadays, I'm gonna read something because I wanted for it to be included in our public record, in our minutes. And we are going to simply vote, this council right now is going to simply vote on whether or not we read the comments, basically, in the audit report. I did read the comments and it's a devastatingly bad audit report. So rather than just vote the way I'm going to vote, I'd like to use this as my opportunity to let our, residents know some of the challenges that you'll all be looking at shortly when this report's available. Also, I did ask Mr. Cohen to bring an exhibit that maybe he could pass out while I talk. But for the past two meetings, I've tried to alert residents to anticipate concerns regarding the 2022 audit report. We finally received the audit report about a week ago, and tonight in resolution 2024-79, the governing body is required by law to certify that we personally reviewed at a minimum the annual report of the audit and specifically sections of the annual audit entitled comments and recommendations. While I will certify my review of these comments and questions, I believe I am obligated to share my opinions of this report with the public. In my opinion, Bradley Beach failed our 2022 audit miserably. The comments and recommendations section highlighted incredible financial incompetency by our administration. Our 2022 financial data was so poorly maintained that overarching audit finding 2022-001 stated, and I'm going to read this verbatim, internal control procedures were not in place for preventing or detecting and correcting misstatements of account balances recorded in the general ledger on a current and timely basis. General ledgers that are not completely and accurately maintained present a reasonable possibility that a material misstatement in financial statement balances will not be prevented or detected and corrected on a timely basis. This is one of the worst types of audit assessments that can be received. Think about the wording, a material misstatement is reasonably possible. That just should not be the case. And it goes on to say, and it will not be prevented or detected and corrected. There were 16 comments in all that we all have to review and attest and certify that we read. 8 of those comments, half of them were repeats from last year. Half of those corrective action comments were left unaddressed for over a year. A quick summary of the remaining comments includes trust accounts were not properly established with the state of New Jersey. Employment contracts must be reviewed. Those were both from prior year as well and carried forward. Monthly receipts and disbursements must be recorded in the general ledger. I mean, think about that.
How does he know this?
Must be recorded in the general ledger and reconciled to the bank account statement, suggesting that we're not doing that, at least not consistently. Proper authorizations were not obtained for over expenditures of appropriations in the current fund and the beach utility operating fund. Bank reconciliations, someone asked this question earlier, who's doing the bank reconciliations? Bank reconciliations were not completed and accurately reconciled to the general ledger. A borough officer's certification was not consistently made on goods and services received. Bradley Beach is not in compliance with the state statute that requires a responsible individual to authorize and supervise the activities of the payroll service provider. To make matters worse, As of the year end 2022, the auditor was unable to balance our cash on hand to the general ledger. Our actual cash was roughly $75,000 less than what our books reflected. Said another way, the auditor couldn't account for $75,000. And when you have access to the report, this is referred to as miscellaneous reimbursements in Exhibit A-4. Even more discouraging, and this is, a very serious concern of mine personally. Even more discouraging, the auditor confirmed that in 2022, the borough did not pay ourselves back $1 million that we borrowed from our surplus. I did ask Mr. Cohen to pass out this exhibit because I'm going to make some quick references to it. But I went back 14 years, but 12 audit reports from back to 2010. And I'll just roughly talk everyone through this, but every year, as a matter of course, the borough borrows from our surplus, always with the intent to reimburse our surplus. In the summer of last year, so I'm talking June 2023, our mayor, our business administrator, and our CFO informed the council that $700,000 of this $1 million borrowing had been paid back to the borough. So the council was told that in the prior year, 2022, 700,000 of the $1 million had been paid back. And I was upset about that. And I think other council members might have been as well. But because we all thought we dipped into our surplus $300,000. How could the administration be so unaware of our 22 financial statement results 6 months after the 22 books should have been closed? And what I mean by that is they told us 6 months after the close of the year, 700,000 had been paid back. Now we're finding out 22,000 was paid back. Oh, not 700,000. We did not pay back $1 million. Please note that the council relied upon these misstated amounts when negotiating with the mayor on the 2023 budget. I personally pushed very hard to find out what was the amount that we had replenished our surplus, because I felt that was at least a rule of thumb, a guideline, something I could use to estimate what the subsequent year, 2023, might be. So because what happens is every year we make that decision to borrow again. Well, we borrowed again in 2023, $1.1 million. And if I had known at that point that in the year just passed, we had paid back none of it, I might have looked at that borrowing, and I would have looked at that borrowing very differently. So for those in attendance tonight, I did prepare this exhibit. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but anyone who has it in hand, and for folks joining, joining by Zoom, I'm going to ask our clerk to include this in our minutes. But I went back to 2010, went to every single audit report and pulled out exactly how much we borrowed each year and exactly how much we replenished. And in most years, out of 12 years that we looked at, 3 of them, we did not get the full 100% replenished. In aggregate, on average, we replenished 134%. So even the 3 bad years were more than offset by the good years. As I said, we on average replenished 134%. The worst bad year we had, we replenished 77%. That was the worst of 3 bad years. 77%, 3/4 of the money we borrowed, we repaid. This year, we borrowed $988,000. We replenished 2%. So I cannot tell people, because I sit here and I know I'm, this financial geek, and most people, your eyes roll back in your head when I start talking about anticipated surplus. But this was extremely disheartening. It should be for all of us. What a state of chaos and disarray our financial department was through the year 2022. that our auditor tells us we can't even reconcile bank accounts. And that we didn't even know that we could not replenish $1 million of our surplus. I don't know when the administration found out, but I found out about a week ago when this audit report was made available to me. So I will finish my comments on the audit. I will vote yes that I read those comments. But I just want to make sure the rest of the residents understand my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.